Welcome to our webinar today called Making Social Studies Concepts Tangible for Pre-K Students. We are glad to have you all here this afternoon. I am your host, Jessica Hayes, and our presenter this afternoon is Melissa Knowles. Melissa, she has worked in education for 17 years. She has earned her bachelor's degree in elementary education at the University of South Alabama, a master's degree in library science from University of West Alabama in 2009, and her educational specialist degree from University of West Alabama in 2010. She has earned several technology-related certifications and is currently working on a certification as a technology coach. In her work as a certified trainer for social studies school service, she builds curriculum maps, develops micro-credentials, and trains educators on using the programs, as well as leads and hosts webinars on various topics. In her spare time, she loves spending time with her family, reading, and anything outdoors. So now I'm going to turn it over to Melissa.
Hi, welcome everyone on this beautiful day, at least here in Alabama, where Jessica and I are both located. I am so excited to be here with you today to talk about pre-K. So 2 years ago, my school changed to be only pre-K and kindergarten, the entire school. We only have about 150 students, so it's not a super large school, but it has been an interesting transition and I love my days there, so I really enjoy getting to talk about these age groups. We know that pre-K teachers have an incredible job training up students, learners, citizens, and humans. Every day you teach something different. I fix hair, I have hot glued shoes, I have done so many different things. Pre-K is such an enjoyable, exhausting, and the growth that you see is amazing. So I really enjoy it. In this webinar, what I want to discuss with you guys is the best case scenario concepts of teaching social studies in your classroom. Then I want to go through a product called StoryPath. It is written specifically for pre-K students. And even if you don't have access to this particular StoryPath, I hope that you can find ways to implement or adapt the ideas into your classrooms. So let's get started. I did want to add in a question. What kind of challenges or rewards do you have in teaching social studies with especially pre-K? I've asked and gotten a lot of answers about this for other grades, but never with pre-K. What are the things that you struggle with in teaching social studies?
Hey, Melissa, did we lose you? Oh, I think we're having some technical difficulties. It looks like Melissa is offline, so we'll just wait just a few moments for her to get back, log back on for us.
So stressful. Let me know when you've got it going.
You can go ahead.
Okay, good. All right, so the concepts in social studies that I wanted to really hit on in teaching social studies, sorry, that I really wanted to hit on are on your screen right now. We know pre-K students learn by doing, touching, playing, interacting with their world around them. So making your social studies concepts as active as possible helps students understand, discover, and extend their learning. The second thing is about talking. So while students play, they talk, sometimes more than we want them to, but they're also pretending and role playing or simulating as we do with our older students. They're also in questioning students, even with just a simple why. We're giving them opportunities to broaden their vocabulary, to explain things, to better understand and take a moment and step back and think about, oh, why did I do that? Or do I think that happened? Just like toddlers discover their environment with why, we need our learners to practice explaining and using vocabulary while also hearing the other students and adults modeling these types of conversations. It doesn't always come naturally to students to talk and discuss. We've got all different kinds of students, so giving those opportunities to practice is very important. As a media specialist, I skipped one. As a media specialist, I had to reinforce read alouds. Allowing students to engage with literature in social studies is, unfortunately, right now, the only way some of my K teachers are teaching social studies is really through their read alouds, and then of course through social centers and those type of engagement activities. But to actually bring in community helpers or other concepts, they're using picture books. So it is a very important and very effective way to bring social studies concepts to students. However, I'm hoping that it's not going to be the only way for some of my teachers right now. Another valuable experience I talk about in the 5th bullet is dictation. Have you thought about journaling with your pre-K students? It may not seem possible, but it absolutely is. With our pre-Ks, you know, those students absorb the world around them like a sponge. So presenting the concepts we want students to repeat is important in daily interactions with your students. So what our teachers do is they have students usually draw a picture about something that they're talking about. And as the teachers move around the room, they go to each student, they bend their knees and get right on their level next to them, and then they write the words that the student says describing their picture. But while they're doing that, they're showing the students finger spacing, they're showing the students beginning sounds, middle sounds, and you know your students best as far as bringing up these things with them: capital letters, period, what letters hang below the line. All of those concepts happen. So the more that they see those words written, the concepts of print, the more likely they are to then try to model that. So as the year progresses, you see students adding letters on the line under their picture or in the box under their picture. They'll use phonetic or inventive spelling and many of the conventions of literacy, such as punctuation. So here in the last bullet, I know some teachers do not have full control over their program. I know our program for pre-K has some very strict components that are non-negotiables. However, our teachers do have the ability and flexibility to look at what students want to know about, see what they're interested in, and to guide their curriculum to meeting those needs. And I think that's very important, especially with our inquisitive four-year-olds, to make sure that we're adding in some things that they really enjoy. And a lot of that can be done with a sharing time, so that they're bringing in things that they like or that they thought. Remember the show and tell. So they're getting to talk about things. You can also learn a lot about your kids by having them really share more about themselves and their thoughts and what they enjoy. All right, so let's go ahead and move into the story path. So I went ahead and added in what comes with the story path. I just wanted you to see what sort of type of things were available and what the story path is. So in the story path, the pre-K program story path takes a topic such as post office, which is the one that we're going to talk about today. It creates a story that's developmentally appropriate for young children. It goes into what they know and understand about post offices currently and provides the teacher with a starting point. Because most kids have some notion. They know a little bit about mail carriers, getting mail. Even in today's age, we still get a lot of junk mail for sure. And maybe they've even been to a post office with their parents. Maybe they've seen mail trucks out for delivery. We do not have mail carriers walking around, but in some cities that they do. So it's necessary to build on what they already know about the role of mail carriers to set the stage for them to imagine themselves actually delivering the mail. So there are going to be characters in this story as the students go through all the different scenarios. Now, what's nice about it is it gives a lot of opportunities to mix up the play. So it's not a rigid thing you have to follow every time. You can absolutely adapt it to currently. Our world is not always face-to-face, but virtually we can do different things. You can have the students do many of these things at their home. Another really fun thing to do right now would be to actually mail, at the beginning of the story, it has the teacher write a letter and have it mailed to the school. Well, you can mail an intro letter to the students. And if it's a small town like ours, they're probably all going to get it on the same day. So in your Zoom meeting or your virtual meeting, you could talk about that letter. Somebody's going to bring up, oh, I got a letter from my teacher today. Somebody is going to bring up that letter. And so then you could bridge that way with it. So it's very adaptable in the program. They're going to engage with a lot of different things. And then as far as the postal worker, letter recipient, actually writing letters, but they're also going to get to solve a problem in the story path. So all of these events build on what the children know to extend their learning about how mail carriers and post offices work in our communities. So each story path, and this is the only one that I currently have, is the post office one, but I know that they are writing more. I was able to do a webinar with one of the authors of this program, so I know that they are working on more, and I'm really excited. So you can see in the teachers, you've got a teacher's guide, which is digital and could be physical. You're going to have assessments that go along with it, formative, summative, whatever you need, you would be able to find an assessment for that. There's also discussion posters that come along with it, which are also, they could be printed or digitally looked at. So let's get going. Okay. The story path. It contains 6 episodes. So a letter arrives, they create mail carriers, create mailboxes, learn about the post office, solve a problem, and then have a letter writing party. So this can be, as I said, if you don't have a lot of time, you can definitely adapt this program to fit your needs. So the first thing they're going to do is introduce the concept of mails, create mail carriers. They even create a little mail carrier hat that they can wear. It's really cute. They create mailboxes with homes and streets, delivery trucks, all that would be in the play area. They learn about how the post office works and write letters, deliver mail, collect mail. And then a problem emerges, an overstuffed mailbox, dun dun dun, and the children have to decide how to solve the problem. And it concludes with a letter writing party with families. I don't know about your pre-K program, but we have to have the family components in ours, so this is perfect. Not only that, it also follows this C3 framework, which is college, career, civic life. So the students are introduced to the post office and build on what they know. They learn and engage with the concepts. They complete a simulation and try to solve a real world problem to come to a conclusion. So this is, I'm not sure if your systems are doing this C3, but it is big in our system. Going through all those steps to bring it into the world and actually solving a problem or making a decision. So I love that this program embeds those already. So let me go to the next. Okay, so I went ahead and took a screenshot of just one picture. The unfortunate part is with COVID, March was when we did community helpers. So I do not have pictures of students doing this. So I'm having to use the teacher's guide. However, it does include some pictures. So I'm going to show you those in a little bit as far as actual real students using the products, but they're not my students. So that was something sad with COVID because I was so excited about getting those with you. However, the teacher's guide, I really like. It's got great graphic directions. It has the text specific directions. So your graphic directions are going to be actual written by a teacher that used it in her classroom. So maybe some things that she did that made it easier. And so you're going to get a lot of suggestions and you're going to get to see how it was actually utilized in a classroom using that graphic direction. And then as you prepare to teach, you may want to use the text directions, or you may want to use your own adaptations. And then at the bottom, you can see the language and literacy component. So all throughout the book, it's going to be adding in concepts of print, see that their ideas are valued, have an opportunity to test a hypothesis. So all these components and things that you normally do in language and literacy, then you can apply those in here. I know a lot of teachers are using, as I said, the read alouds to get their social studies in. And this is a great way to bring it into your reading and language time, but teach your social studies concepts. Okay, I like this sequencing activity. It was just something super easy for the students to do, but you can see they would be actively engaged in, depending on the time of the year, cutting and sorting. They could do it with a partner, they could do it in a center. I mean, you really could just do these. They can do it at home. You could do it anyway. You could even, if they're doing it digitally, they could write what would happen first, second, third. They could annotate over the document. So a lot of ways that you can use any of the printables that come with it, and also a great way to hold conversations and work with those first, next, then, last words that we use with just a simple 4-box sequencing activity. And it's also including that literacy, as I said. So there's this easy question: what did you see at the post office? There is a suggestion that maybe you could take a trip to the post office, and that may or may not be doable. But I know virtually, I know several of our postmasters would love to, as much as they can, take the kids through, even virtually, into their post office. So the teacher is annotating their thinking while the students share and writing it down. That print can stay up. I know sometimes we will do pictures with the names, and then they can match the name, and maybe do a sort of little rebus, put a picture of a bucket or an envelope with those and put them in a center for the students to do some matching. Also, you can see the student is practicing real life concepts of letter writing. And then they will create a mailbox so they can mail their letters later. So one thing also that is really nice about this is that this is all in the program, yet you decide if it's something that you want to use. It is cross-curricular. So there is art. You can see the little hat. There's also a paper version in there that they can create. So they are mail carriers, and they also created a town. So you can see the house numbers. You can see the different houses. You can see the street. They've named the street. So you're getting all of those math. You could even do it in a cube. I would walk 3 steps to the right, which is also coding. You really can adapt it to your students. If you live in a town that is a neighborhood school, you could even design some of the things really close around your school and maybe even do some walking trips. But so in those numerical patterns, I forgot that math concept also, numerical patterns and addresses, so your consecutive numbers and then zip codes. So a lot of different concepts you can see are being brought in, not including literacy and social studies. I love the posters. They're really great pictures, and they've got just a nice text at the bottom, so you can put that up. And then let me show you what the back looks like. So on the back, I had to do a screenshot, so it's not quite as clear as I would have liked, but you can see that there's open-ended discussion questions with possible responses, or if you need to maybe help prompt the students. And then there's also vocabulary. So one thing I didn't tell you is that the teacher's guide is available in English and Spanish, and as you can see, the posters are also. So you can hit at least those 2 language groups. So as you're holding the poster up, I love that it's on the back and you can just go straight from there, or pop it on your screen and discuss with the students. Just getting them talking. I did want to show you just with this quick screenshot that there is another one. This is actually a 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade story path. It's in Active Classroom. It's called Families in Their Neighborhoods, but it would be easily adapted to pre-K using the components that you think. Why do some houses look different? So you've got your apartments, your homes, townhouses, how do families work and play? So you've got all that available in Active Classroom, which right now for this school year is free. So you could access those materials and see if they fit into your program. Also, I think the Families and Neighborhoods Story Path would be a great intro into before your post office unit. Okay, so I wanted to, before we go to the end, is go back to some of the things that, some of your comments that I missed earlier. And also, I hope that you can see how those initial bullets from the beginning through the story path were easily implemented. Also, those things that the story path encompassed, although it would be time consuming for you to do on your own, would be easily adaptable in your classroom in unit creating. And I know these are a lot of the things that you know, but sometimes we don't think about, or we get overwhelmed with other duties, or don't have time. But in your groups, or if you, or during this COVID time where we do not have students at school currently, at least in our area, we don't. I don't know if anybody has gone back to school yet in our country, but it would be a good time to put some of those concepts in where you can teach them and where you see that they fit to make these tangible for our students. And I love that word for our pre-K students because they want to touch and feel and manipulate everything that they see. And they amaze me. So I'm going to go to that chat up there. And it looks like maybe I think, Jessica, if there were any, I think when I got back on, I don't see those any longer.
From what I see, there was just only one, and
Okay.
is Rebecca was asking, is this a specific program that you have to pay for to get access to?
Okay, so yeah, a story path is something that you would purchase. As I said, Active Classroom has the neighborhood, family and neighborhood, and I'm hoping that they're going to put this one on also. And the Active Classroom is free right now because of COVID-19. So you'll have it for the whole rest of the school year, and you can see if it's something that is interesting to you.
Ooh, and that's great because Active Classroom has so many activities for you to have access to. So you can take this time to really go through it and see if this is something, if your school doesn't have a subscription to see if this is something that y'all might want to look into in the future.
Correct. They also have some great maps, I know, that would be really easy to use with pre-K that the students can interact with. So I hope I'm sorry about that glitch with the internet. It's been working so well. I don't know what happened, but I'm glad I was able to get back on. Thank goodness for hotspots.
Yes, it all worked out.
Okay, let me see. I'm going to try to bring that up for you in Active Classroom. I don't have it on, but I can go in.
So Elisa said that she would love to see how we access maps for the younger kids.
So, Jessica, you may be better to answer this because you've done more with Nystrom World.
So,
But I'm trying to open the maps in Active Classroom to show you. And if you have any, so this is in Active Classroom, and I went really fast just to get in here, but all I did was log into Active Classroom. On the left-hand side, there are icons, and one of them is called Maps. So I just clicked that, and it opened up here. So you have your world map. I think maybe even in like the physical map, you could talk about mountains. There is a precipitation map, I believe, temperature. So you could talk about colder places and warmer places. There's a dual view here where you can see on the left-hand side is your toolbar. If you're not seeing my mouse, I'm not sure if you can see it. On the left-hand side, there's a toolbar, and that's all I'm clicking. So it's super easy to access, but there's a dual view where you could show two maps at once. So you could talk about what's on the top of the world, what's on the bottom. You can zoom in and out.
Elise says every time she uses this feature, the map jumps around on the screen and it's really hard to label. Do you have any suggestions
Are
about
you?
that? I know this can be a little finicky sometimes.
Yes. I know that Google Chrome is better. It works better with your Google Chrome browser. If you restart your computer, if it's having any glitches, that definitely helps, because what happens is you get a lot of, you know, what they called your cache. But basically it's like when you get overwhelmed or you stuff something too full, it's just not going to process and work as well. So restarting your computer using Google Chrome before you open the maps absolutely help, especially with your students when they are using. And I like to just give it to them sometimes and let them label or find places or just see even what they notice. Oh, this one's bigger than than this country. Look at these little tiny places. And we've also done islands, different islands. Just trying to zoom a little. Oh, search, sorry. Here. Two, if you're on a smart board, sometimes they're, I know on mine, their hair will actually start to activate the touch. And so keeping, especially like if girls have really ruffly, frilly sleeves, pulling their sleeves up before they use the map or using the pen can be another suggestion to make it work better. I know I have had it not work very well on my interactive touch board when the girls they're wearing jackets or those little frilly sleeves that just want to rub the screen and move everything around. You can also lock the view or link and lock the view. So if you link them, both screens would do the same thing. That may. But if you
Yes,
go
and
to,
I think it has a lot to do with the browser too that you use to make
yeah,
it not so finicky with it.
in trainings, we definitely, we have everybody restart their computer and open Google Chrome. That's the first thing we do before they log in. Just trying to go back so you can see. You see socialstudies.com. If you go to socialstudies.com or if you email help that you want a free subscription to Active Classroom, feel free to do that and you will have access to that, and you can play with some of these things for your students and see if they would work with your program. Sometimes even just, as I said, posting the map and then having that as a center where they know they can write on it, but just listening to their conversations has been a way that I've guided some of the things that I've done with my students in the media center. So a lot of times I feel responsible for adding to their social studies if I know that they're teachers, and it's mostly just because they're overwhelmed with all of the other things that they have to teach and some of the requirements. I completely understand, but you know, in the library I can really add and extend a lot of the social studies things. So definitely use your resources if you're having trouble getting some of those concepts taught. Well, I don't see any others, but if you need a certificate from tonight's webinar, please email help@socialstudies.com and they will be happy to send you a certificate, but it won't just automatically come. So definitely email help@socialstudies.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to email pgothard@socialstudies.com or help@socialstudies.com and someone will get with you. But thank you.